Docking request accepted.
Good morning, New Eden! Today is October 1st. I wanted to say September, but it threw me off because it is no longer September. We have moved on into the 1st of October in a very special episode. We don't normally run the show on a Wednesday night, but we have a very, very special guest. I'm Frozen Fallout, your host for the Federation Frontline Report, and my co-host is Nightflyer.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the show. Yeah, we are holding off on the stream fleet for a while because we have a very special interview with one of our CSM candidates, Kshal Aideron. Thank you for coming onto the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, you are going to be running once again for CSM. Tell us, before we get deeper into the run for CSM, though, let's just kind of do the Wayback Machine here and see, what got you into this crazy game of EVE Online, and what, got you stuck into it?
Yeah, my story is a little bit crazy. I started actually back in 2015. I never got undocked, so I rage quit. My husband kept playing. He just kind of left me out in the cold. So in 2018, when the free accounts came, the alpha accounts, I tried again. There was actually a tutorial this time, so I got undocked, but I never got into a ship. Kind of floated around in a pod and got blapped by something. Said, well, this isn't fun. Screw this. Went back to what I was doing. And then in 2019, there was a guy that came and started working on a project with me, and he was bragging about playing the hardest MMO ever, and I just kind of rolled my eyes and I'm like, what, spreadsheets in space? He was like, you know about EVE? Yeah, my husband plays. So I thought that if I introduced them to each other, that maybe I wouldn't have to keep listening to EVE exploits. Unfortunately, I now had to listen to it both at work and at home. And I would be told about all their exploits because they joined the same Null Corp and went out and did ops together. So finally, I decided that, okay, I'll try it a third time. And at that point, the tutorial was a lot better. It was the old tutorial, not the current one, but the previous. Mm-hmm. And my husband walked in, I'm shooting rats, and he was like, you're playing EVE? But I started streaming the very first day that I played, so I had help. I had 5 veteran players at that point that were, getting me through the tutorial, getting me through the career mission, and telling me, shoot this, do this. Got me through the horrible exploration career mission that I almost rage quit on a 4th time.
Right.
And
I launched my probes, but I can't find anything.
Oh, jeez, that was horrible. Right. Still is horrible. So, yeah, that was my introduction to EVE, and I found the MPSI community about, 2-3 weeks into playing EVE, and that was it. I was hooked.
Yeah, no, and this, one of the things I find very common is the constant failure of the new player experience up until recently. That the more recent interactions with the new player experience is much more, definitely doesn't leave you high and dry. It kind of puts you into an action sequence of, things, kind of like a little bit of a storyline, which I kind of have a little bit of a gripe with, to be honest. Because I feel like it would be, instead of every time that somebody creates a character, a station blows up randomly. It does kind of attest to the size of EVE and the idea of how many Aster houses and how expendable an Aster house is. To be honest, actually, it's not completely unrealistic that if there was, I feel like EVE is much more of you're not special in EVE. You're just one of the many, spot pod pilots. All pod pilots are special compared to anything else in the universe. But you're not on like some kind of epic journey. Now, to a certain degree, I guess there is like epic arcs and stuff like that, missions that if you take it if you've done it once and you don't take into account that you've saved the damsel in distress many times. There is kind of a little bit of a story, I guess, from a singular player pod pilot kind of point of view that you kind of have in the game now, and that starts off at the beginning of the game. Is there anything? When was the last time that you did the new player experience?
About a month, Nick. Yeah, about a month ago. I haven't been making as many tutorial videos, so my account habit has slowed down slightly. But yeah, they added a little bit of new things, since the whole experience came out, 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago now? But it's still not complete. It's better, but not complete.
What are some of the areas? Is there anything as CSM that you'd be advocating for in enhancements for the new player experience?
Yeah, so when I was on CSM 18, every single time I have a chance to sit down with CCP before I was CSM and in the past year, it's getting the D-scanning into the tutorial. If you remember, before they started going back to these chapters or expansions, we had the hunt for the Easter event, and you would have to go and descan the capsule and get the key, then go do the event site. They have the code. Why not just put it into the bloody tutorial? Because I actually started playing, right around the hunt and became really good at descan, went on to scouting and hunting for MPSI fleets. So infinitely useful. Just put it into the tutorial already.
I can see that also being like, that should be an activity, like a constant activity that like using descan for PV, so some kind of PvE activity that's similar to the hunt. Like you said, they already have the code in there, which is basically just make a ship scannable, by a descan, which,
One of my suggestions when they were coming out with the home fronts was to actually add this as like a, home front activity. Because again, they have the code, so, just repurpose it, use it. It's not like you have to come up with something new. Just put it in the game some way, somehow.
Did you? So you've already been on CSM once. Were you advocating? And it sounds like you were advocating for that during that time. Was there any specific roadblock that they actually put up as to why they don't have descan as a new player experience activity?
You mean 5 years? Pesky little NDA. Yes, there are reasons, but unfortunately, I can't discuss.
Nope, understandable. And so, besides the new player experience, what is some of the things that you like? Can you give us your broader package of what is your stance that you're going to be in things that you platform? That's what I was looking for. The word platform. What is the platform that you're going to be running on this year? I know we've talked many other years, but and I'm guessing I know it's the same based upon something that I read. But I'll let you kind of give that.
Yeah, it's the same but different. The previous 3 years it was predominantly on the new bro experience, the new player experience, and last year I added in the community building, obviously because I have a very, very large community that is very successful. But this year, it's kind of morphed into undocking. My FanFest 2025 presentation was all about content and getting people to undock, try new content, don't just sit in the station and spin. And this isn't just a, new player problem or old player problem or a nullsec problem, wormhole problem. It's an everyone problem, So trying to figure out why people aren't undocking, aren't going out doing something, finding content, becoming content, and becoming part of the ecosystem. And we just need to find ways to get players out, whether it's, recently they just took the forward bases out of high sec and put them in low sec. So this is one less fleet content for high sec. So, what are the people that used to do that going to do now? Because it's not very rewarding to go to low sec to do it. So yeah, do we need more activities? Do we need to, lower the standards in some places? Do we need to add more reward? Do we need to add more tools so people can fleet up? It's, working with CCP to figure it out. And of course, I already did that in CSM 18, and I've been doing it through this year, because once you finish with the CSM, it's not the end of your relationship with CCP. So, I've been working pretty tirelessly to figure this out and get more people undocked.
So that's one thing I do find kind of interesting, is that I feel like there is a lot of content in EVE Online. One of the things that I find interesting about the content, though, is that the risk versus reward ratio is where things all kind of get out of whack to a certain degree. And I think that is probably one of the areas that I find the hardest for CCP to come to a balance to. And the other thing is if you do group activity kind of stuff, then they get pushed on the whole idea that it's a bot, or it's a multi-boxers of activity. So there is no group activity in EVE. There is single player ISK making, and then there is multi-boxing ISK making. And there's taking out the multi-boxing thing, I like the like home fronts and stuff like that. I think to be honest, I've never actually run them because I'm like banned from high sec, and I barely do anything in high sec these days. But I like the idea of that there are a small group activity for new players to be able to go do. But the big question is, in the end, EVE Online gets hit really hard, I think, by the ISK per hour ratio. And also gets completely inflated in areas that... and I'd say faction warfare is an area that the ISK per hour is actually greatly inflated, because your LP is worth something, and you can do LP trading. I think is where you can start getting almost, but you still have to contact somebody, you have to trade, you have to work with, you have to know that whole system, you have to learn that whole system. There's a bunch of hurdles you have to know about the LP store, or a trader for that, and have a corporation that you're involved with. It's actually gotten much easier to get LP, but I think exploration is another one that I see people being like, oh, you can make 300 million ISK an hour, no problem, first day newbie will absolutely, it's like, well, even if you know everything that you're doing, it depends on where you are in space, what kind of exploration you're actually doing, understanding the exploration mechanics, and not, in the process of learning. But I think that there's, one of the things that holds back some content in EVE Online is the idea that, for example, I think there's the convoys that are going on right now. There's no way that I am going to participate in going and shooting a convoy, because there's no ISK per hour in it. If it happens to maybe be around me, maybe I would go do something, or go check that aspect of the content out. Do you have a feeling of what areas should really be reevaluated for risk to reward, or do you feel that what we currently have is good? Or
of course, there's always areas that need to see a little bit love. I think missions are one of the biggest ones that the risk versus reward is kind of meh. I think they could significantly increase the risk and up the reward a little bit, because when you're making like 10 mil an hour as a day one new player in their frigate or Corvette, that really kind of sucks.
10 million an hour? I think that's an overestimate. That's way more
I've
than
actually I take
right
new
up there.
players out quite a bit because there happens to be a YouTuber that puts out tutorial videos for Abyssals and likes to use
Abyssals, yeah.
advanced pods and stuff. So I go for the day one, only using the stuff that I can get in there. And yeah, I usually have to spend about an hour in level 1 missions to get enough ISK to buy the ship, the skills, and whatnot that is suggested in the tutorials. And it's really kind of grim. And I can get it up to about 10 mil, but I think that's also using, player knowledge you just can't kind of get rid of.
Yeah, yes. And I think that if you were just running level 1 missions is the way that I was thinking of it. Like, just level 1 missions give, like, nothing, basically. The basic
Well,
I'm
talking about, making sure you pick up the salvage and everything. Like I say, I can get it up to about 10 mil an hour if I
really
push it.
That's pretty good, actually. I would not expect that out of a new character. For missions, one thing I find interesting is that so when it comes to, like, kind of going off of what you were saying of, like, there seems to be massive hurdles of jumps in difficulty in order to start, and time commitment in order to start making a lot of money off of missions. But what I do understand is that missions do have upwards of, like, 50 to 100 million ISK an hour that you can make off of burner running, which is very, very specific type of mission running in high sec that is high payout, extremely front loaded on the cash that you have to put out for a massive amount of different ships that you need to have specialized for each scenario. And then there's a whole standings dance that you have to kind of do in order to complete that. But when it comes to, like, new player activities, where do you think the ISK per hour should be for a new player activity?
I personally, and this is just because, I find fleeting up with friends the best way to retain players. That magic moment of meeting other players. I think it should be more in fleet activities, but then we go back to the multi-boxers. And people being able to take advantage of that. So it's a hard one. And one, I don't envy CCP, and I know that the CSM spends a lot of time talking about this, because you got your faucets, you got your, sinks and stuff like that to keep it all balanced. I do think that missions should probably be upped a little bit, but like I say, they need to be revamped. I don't know, maybe give a little bit more in the SOE Epic Arc, because you can only do that every 3 months anyways. And who's going to sit there and do that on multiple characters? I mean, I don't even do that with my farm. Screw that.
Right.
That sounds like, just misery. So yeah, all the epic arcs you can only do every 3 months. So maybe that's the place that should put a little bit more, front loaded for new players.
Yeah, no, I really was surprised because I thought that they were going to do more with epic arcs. When they first came out, they kind of hinted that they could make, like, a lot of these, and that they could kind of churn these out, like, and that this is the new mission system, basically, is that there'll be these epic arcs that you go on, and you can only do once every 3 months. And now that, one of the, you bring up missioning, is that missioning hasn't been really touched. The only major touch that I can think of is adding burner missions was a big addition, but I can't even remember when. That's been in for, like, a really long time.
So last summer, they revamped some stuff in the missions, but it mostly had to do with UI and some of the actual story, so actually the dialogue and text. They didn't actually fundamentally change anything.
Well, I do like that they made it easier, for sure, from a UI perspective for a while ago too, where you can just, you have a mission display of the different missions that you have. You can click warp to, it'll set destination, undock. Like, these are all, like, things that, like, from a new player's perspective, I do have to say that they have enhanced them. But in general, the missions themselves, besides, I think one of the biggest changes to it, which is ancient and kind of shows my age, is that enemies didn't used to change targets. The NPCs used to always focus in on whatever they had shot first and whatever came in first, and would forever shoot at that thing forever. Doesn't matter. So you'd take like frigates and stuff like that and have them go around. And so that was a big change up for missions when they started changing targets. But in general, the payout, the entire thing for it has been fairly untouched this entire time. Is there a possibility of any love, like a complete revamp or a changing of missions at all, or more epic arcs coming out at some point in this game's history? Or do you think that missions are kind of going to wallow in minor updates that will be put out for them?
I mean, anything is possible in development, as they say. I get the sense, when I talk to the CCP developers, that the team involved with missions really would like to get in there and redo it, but they just haven't been given the time. That's the sense I get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big aspect of the game, for sure.
Yeah.
That is... also, touching it does upset a bunch of people, to be honest. There are people that have been
100%.
playing this game that what they do is they do mission running in whatever a Drake that they it's like they're not doing it for ISK per hour. They're just doing level 4 missions. They've been doing it forever. They love doing this one activity. Adding in some more missions. Because I personally would love to see like a massive redo of missions where it's completely more dynamic, it's more Eve, it's more structured around some kind of procedurally generated kind of stuff for people to kind of do, and that could even be like tie into what's going on in the world arc in general. But it is probably one of the hardest aspects to kind of push, because it is extremely costly, and it actually is possible that you could hurt some of your player base by making it completely different. Because even if it's better, it could be called crap because it's different. So are those things... So what is something, or what are the things that you will be focusing on specifically to try and push for that you think are realistic at this time that you might see come out in the next year?
So one of the things, a quality of life a feature, or I don't know what we would call it, but I want to see hangar logs. I don't know. As a matter of fact, we just had it again the other night. Someone borrowed a Vindy, took the guns off. We didn't know who borrowed it and where the T2 guns went. And I think this is like the 5th or 6th set of T2 guns that we got. And it's crazy to me that no one has ever put logs in on who puts stuff in or takes stuff out of corp hangars in all this time, because I can just imagine the theft that happens. It's just like, or where did those scripts go? I could have swore I just bought 100 of them. Why are we low again?
Right.
So that's the big one.
That's an interesting one, because I believe that there is a log for containers, right? Like if you pull in and out something from a container, there is a log of who took it. But you're talking about the base level hangar for communal hangars.
Yeah. Yep. Another one that just got put on my radar. I have done a lot with players over accessibility over the last couple of years. I have some severely disabled players. I have one that basically navigates a ship through a joystick that he controls with his lips, and kind of a mouse that he can do things with his finger. And I have another one that is colorblind and very severely colorblind. and whatnot. So I have players that send me things about themselves all the time, talking about accessibility and whatnot. And I never thought about this, but with the new opportunities, basically you're kind of forced to do the 3 jumps. It doesn't matter, you can't turn it off. And they're like, this, in my brain, just, I need it to turn off. I have my own goals. I don't want CCP's goals. Why can't I turn this off? And when I started thinking about it, yeah, why if you don't want to have anything to do with opportunities, why can't you just turn it off? We can turn off the tutorial, we can turn off a lot of things. Warnings and all that stuff. Why can't we turn off, these opportunities if people don't want to see them? So that's actually something that I would love to talk to CCP about and see if we could just have hide or turn off or something for some of these things that really bother certain players. And
That's really interesting. Yeah,
I'm gonna actually be putting out a survey here in the next day or two, asking people why they don't undock. And this was just one off of my own community that came up that they sent me a DM about. It's like, hey, I just want to tell you this is the reason why I haven't undocked for like weeks. I've rage quit, every single time I hear the little ding.
So. Yeah, that's those little tweaks like that can, because it's going to be a much smaller minority of that's not going to have a loud voice. That that needs to have that kind of advocation for sure, and that's super. That's an interesting little addition. So Nightflyer, what kind of questions do you have?
I want to know what your kind of opinion or stance is on CCP's overdependence on third-party content creators and or influencers. It just seems, my perspective is they lean too heavily on the community itself to try to create this fun.
Well, it is a sandbox.
Yeah.
So, do you roleplay at all? Tabletop roleplay?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I know Frozen.
Yes.
So, we can go. For those of you who have never done Dungeons and Dragons or something, there's something a DM can do. You can either have a sandbox where your players can do whatever the heck they want, and you just roll with it and, throw all your notes out the window, or you can railroad them into doing what you want them to do. And I think that by relying on the community to come up with the content, come up with the fun, they're allowing us to control the train to a large part instead of routing us where we want to go. Look at the whole Pochfin narrative from, 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. People are still mad that we were given a choice, and we gave them a choice, and they still went and did their own thing.
Yeah. Right, yeah, that it was just it was an eventuality, that this would, happen. But what system, there was a little bit of play in there, but it wasn't quite understood. And yeah, I would say one of the things that I would say when it comes to in-player content, in-player games, they have the fleet system that they have kind of opened it up so that you can have, an event that happens in-game that people can join. That I believe that the fleet system is not restricted by where you are in the galaxy. So no. you can put up and you do you'll see every day there's almost all day long there's 2 to 5 neutral events that are happening. Neutral fleets that are open to people. I wouldn't necessarily say that they're neutral events. And there's a lot of neutral events that get kind of blocked out because, for example, and your Fun Incorporated and, most NBSI fleets are going to be, invite only. You have to be in a channel, you have to know, so you have to X up, or you have to there is or most other systems use the blue system to if it's not friendly, then nobody sees these fleets. So one of the things that I think that I think that there is some things that could be done in game for some of the personal events to not maybe make it railroady, but make it so that CCP can put spotlights on different communities that are doing things inside of Eve. One of the big ones for me would be like, why is there not some kind of out of game? Because I also do run a meetup in Madison, so it's kind of interesting to see that there's everything regarding player meetups is all handled by third party. And that CCP is very hands off when it comes to being involved in any, which maybe I guess there could be legal reasons.
I don't know if it's legal reasons, but just through my interactions with CCP, even before becoming CSM, they don't really want to play favorites, and they feel like having these things in game and giving the spotlights and whatnot are playing favorites. And I've had this exact conversation, with the Eve Rookies fleets that we have, and with the MPSI fleets and whatnot. You got to know about the MPSI Rocks calendar before you can come to any of the fleets, or know someone who knows someone. Same thing with Eve Rookies. You got to know about us before you can come and do our fleets. But it's like, if they start giving us spotlight, then they're going to have to start giving spotlight to this, and this. They just don't want to. They don't want, They don't
want to play favorites, basically. Yeah. And that makes sense, I guess.
I mean, it's fair, but it is very frustrating, especially, when you're trying to do something for the greater community. But
Oh No Dude did state that they do have the community beat spotlight, which is pretty interesting. I do that. I have been watching that more.
Don't get me on that soapbox.
Is that something that you like, or?
Fun fact: I have been in the community beats, and I personally have been spotlighted, but Eve Rookies has never once been in there.
Oh wow!
Every year for our anniversary. I don't know why, but our anniversary month is shared with Eve Uni. So it's always Eve Uni that gets the happy birthday, and we have never gotten it in there. So yeah, this is one of those my little soapbox. I'll get off of it now.
I think there's been some issues with some inconsistency with, I know people who have really tried to become Eve partners. They're dedicated to the game. They stream regularly. They stream active content. They've got good communities. But for whatever reason, they're not meeting whatever criteria that CCP is asking for. And then somebody else who hasn't done half of what they're doing will make partner. And, they're... And I've seen those people walk away after a couple. And again, I don't know where the thing is. It's not my company.
I've been there.
I don't know. So
I've been there, because also the other fun fact, I'm not a partner. I could be. I have 2 servers of over 4,500 people, and but my YouTube doesn't meet the criteria. My Twitch doesn't have the criteria. My website does, but I'm to the point, 5.5 years into the game, I don't care anymore.
Yeah,
I've done it all without them. So, but I do feel for the smaller creators, and I did have those feelings of, why did they, get partner? All they do is sit there and do giveaways, whenever they're on. They don't actually play the game.
Yeah. Oh, let's do marbles. All right. I'm in station spinning. Oh, let's play a game of marbles. You're like, okay, that's.
And here I am, dedicating 2 hours of my life to, herding cats through nullsec and teaching them, getting them content to blow up, and because I'm not running marbles, I don't get it.
People do love a good giveaway. That's it. I do have to say that it is kind of interesting with Eve, is that a giveaway really works in the sense that it's there's it's easy to get to the people. If you were in almost any other game, you'd have to be from my server. Or some kind of special, thing that the creator of the game would have to be able to give you to be able to do some kind of giveaway or something like that. I do find that Eve is interesting, that there is a big raffle community that just wants to get in on. If you want to get in on raffles, come to Eve Online Twitch. Like,
So, funny enough, I actually do monthly raffle where I give away a couple billion ISK and usually a couple holes and the Master Arm accelerators that I have coming through my ears. And in order to get a raffle ticket, though, you have to come out on a fleet.
ooh, yeah, yeah.
Well, that's cool.
And every single time someone's ticket is forgotten, I mean, this has become like a big deal now that, hey, where's my ticket? And yeah, so, you come, you participate, you get a ticket. And we've had people win, I think I've given away an upward of like 50 bill now.
Dang, yeah, that's
Awesome. Well, I know when I was a new player, it's something that really made a huge difference for me. When Rushlock gave me $100 million, that was like game changing.
Yeah.
Eminent Inferno gave me a one of the first scope syndication skins that came out for the Astero, and that was life changing for me. I mean, it was because at the time when that first came out, it was like $1.5 billion or something I got for it,
Yeah.
and so that let me take my game to another level. It got me out of, all right, now I'm mining every day. Hey, maybe I'll go check and see what Noir's doing. Can I fly with them? Now I got a little money, I can buy some ships, and so I really appreciated that kind of handout. But I would have hoped that there was something a little more in game that I could have done as that player for 6 months that was still trying to learn stuff, and I hadn't found that community yet. I hadn't found those people yet.
Yep.
So it was a little rough at the beginning there, but I really did appreciate those content creators. Speaking of content creators, people who help other people out, Mike Azariah has thrown his support your way. That's pretty huge.
Yes,
So,
he has.
Because he has been the new player friendly candidate for the last 3 years, and so he cannot run again this year. And so
no, he can run this year because he wasn't elected last year.
Oh, that's right.
So he is running this year. And I would like to remind everyone out there that we do have the same priorities and goals, but we do it vastly different. So, if you throw 2 votes towards us and you get us both on the council again, it's not wasted because he has his perspective from the Magic School Bus and what he does, and I have my perspectives from running, mega communities and doing everything.
Yeah, can you give us actually a little bit of more of a breakdown of that? What are some of the major differences between what you're looking to promote for it as a CSM member and what he would be promoting?
So, like I say, this year I am going for, definitely new player experience because that is my expertise. That's what I've done. That's what I continue to do. That's what my communities are for. But where he travels from system to system with the Magic School Bus and he hands out the ships and he teaches people how to use that particular ship. So if he gives someone, Navy Comet, he teaches them to go out and fly the Navy Comet. Or, if he gives a exploration ship, he teaches that player how to use the exploration ship. Whereas what I'm promoting is just getting undocked and trying something new, trying new content. If you've never done faction warfare before, go out and just enlist because it's not permanent. You can de-enlist and instantly be out of it. But yeah, go get some ships, some frigates, and give it a go.
So are you advocating for more are you personally going to be running fleets for this for NPSI, where it's going to be trying to diversify the different kind of fleets that are going out for this as well?
Not necessarily, because like I said, at this point, I run all these different fleets, so it's not diversifying or anything like that. But I just really want to encourage people to undock and experience all of this. So Mike is giving them a ship. I'm giving them the know-how of going out and doing these things.
Right, providing the base for them to have access to all different types of fleets and different kind of activities that are currently ongoing.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you think that CCP is able to assist with in that regard? What can they do to get people to undock?
that the community team is going to be very, very important in this. Mechanically, within the game, I don't think that there is a whole lot that we can do anymore. Maybe revamp the in-game fleet finder because it's hot trash. But the community team can go and start interviewing, the FCs and the communities and spotlighting them more than just a little blurb that maybe you get in bi-weekly, in the community beat. They have a huge platform to introduce players to all the different activities that are out there. Trying to think of, incursions. Incursions are never featured by CCP. It's always going to be faction warfare missions and PvP fleets. Those are the three things that commonly come up. But incursions are never spoken about. Wormhole ratting, it's been a topic for the last year because we've gotten a wormhole CSM in. But it really kind of largely was never talked about previously. So they could, really start digging into this and use their own community platform to highlight the things you can do more. Maybe not the groups to play favoritism, but the actual activities themselves.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
And not hide it, somewhere deep on the blog.
Right.
Use the social media.
You brought it up.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you brought it up a couple of times, specifically about, obviously, we're kind of a faction-oriented thing, but it's obviously something that you do a lot with new players also.
Yeah.
Do you have specific empires that you guys fly with, or do you guys go from the different ones?
So this year, we've stepped into it kind of weirdly. I had someone that stepped up and said that they wanted to do faction warfare, they wanted to do the plexing, and we gave it the vote, and the people that wanted to do this decided to go with Garistas. And it's because the LP was the best at the time. Unfortunately, they found out that trying to get people the faction for Garistas is a little bit difficult. Now with the new change, I believe the CEO is bringing the corp down a little bit on that one. I've been forced to go out and run the Garistas Epic Arc a few times to get that back up. So we have that, and that's kind of taken a little hiatus because the director running that has burned himself out. For the Empire, we have a group, corporation, Riftwatch Gaming, who has started to go out and do faction warfare, and they enlist with wherever the action is. So if currently there's a lot of people in, Galente space, they'll go and enlist with Caldari, and vice versa. So we just do enlisted. That way, everyone pile in, come do Caldari, and we'll go out for a couple hours and do our best to cause as much havoc as possible. The PvP part isn't really for plexing or going after, war targets because we care about the lore.
The war zone.
Sorry.
I gotta push it. Yeah.
We're going out there purely because we want blood.
Yeah, that's the best part of faction warfare, to be honest.
And we get a lot of it. And so we started this 4 months ago, I think. And it started out with just Riftwatch Gaming and myself. But slowly, we've gotten, that first new player. Now we've gotten a second new player. And I've been watching the every other Monday fleets grow. And I think last Monday, it was something like 20 players. So now we're having to talk about, splitting fleets so we're not so big and scary. And or maybe being able to actually take some battlegrounds.
A little bit more engageable, yeah.
Yeah. So it's been tons of fun, though, and the new players that are coming out for that, they absolutely love it because they can just fly, a cheap frigate and blow it up and go do it again because we stage really close.
Gotta be equal opportunity destroyer. That's great.
100%. I'm going out and flying my really, really expensive 3 mil Griffin, so...
Oh, faction warfare has been something that Frozen and I have pushed for, and was part of his campaign when he ran last year too. Was that there should be more incentive through the new player experience, through that beginning tutorial. There should be a faction warfare to get people out, to show them how to PvP.
Yeah.
And again, it's a part of the game that we love and that we stuck with. But I think so many more players, if they want to engage, you want to get part of communities, I think it's just a great way to do that. So I appreciate you taking people out and showing them to them.
100% agree. And this is something I did, talk to CCP about in CSM 18, is somehow bridging over. Because the career missions and everything just kind of ends. Okay, you have the air career program, but that's kind of like a headless go out and kill some things, and people aren't really out doing any experience in faction warfare in the type of way that would get them more engaged. They're just trying to fulfill their criteria. So I would love to see something in there, because I do think faction warfare is the lowest denominator PvP. It is like the easiest PvP to get into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, I just got so last night, I just logged in for a really quick stint where I only had 30 minutes to log in, and I was like, I'm not gonna find any PvP, but let's just go out and see what's going on. I took out a frigate. I got into 3 fights, I think, in 30 minutes, where it was just going out in a frigate, going to a frontline system, just going to a scout, sitting inside of it, waiting for a hunter to come after me, and it was it's something that I do find for solo frigate accessible PvP. You can't find it anywhere else in EVE, really. No. Not at a frigate level type kind of thing, because and to be good at a faction frigate doesn't take that much. It doesn't take that much SP or skill to be actually good with a faction frigate. And the cost is not really there either, especially since if you go by the LP, if you do anything else inside of faction warfare that you do make, and even killing people in faction warfare will get you LP. And that'll get you your faction frigate at a very, very low cost. And it also introduces other mechanics in the game where it's this is a blueprint. You need minerals, and you need to find a place where you can do industry, and you can build this out for you. I think that's a really interesting. It's one thing that I was playing the game for a long time, and I really didn't do industry until they made it so that, because they used to make it so you could just give the tier 1 ship, and then it'll turn it into the tier 2 ship. Now they have it that you can still do that, but the best thing to do is to use the they have tags or something like that for the ship conversion, but the blueprint is at a discounted LP rate, and that when they made that change, I was like, well, I have to get the blueprint all the time.
Something else that I find really interesting about faction warfare versus the rest of the game is faction warfare is really the only place that LP is talked about, within the game. Mission runners, you never see them talking about LP. Maybe on Reddit, or maybe, in certain Discord.
There's a little bit of discussion, but it's not about how to harvest it insanely.
Yeah.
I think level 5 missions, somebody else did mention that level 5 missions are really big, and I think level 5 missions is when you get into hordes of LP, if I remember correctly. It's been a long time since I did level 5.
Level 5 also, you need carriers and stuff like that out in low sec.
Best way to do it, and it's and it has to be low sec. You can't do it in high sec, so it's extremely dangerous.
But I do find, it very interesting that if people are going to start learning about LP, that's really the place that they do it. And also because it brings the cost of everything down. I definitely saw it in the Gristas, where everyone's flying worms, and it's okay, this is a really expensive ship, but then you learn, they're making it so much cheaper than you can buy it in Jita, and that's why, is the LP. So, yeah, I really wish that we could bridge people into that faction warfare, because it seems like everything's there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a catalyst to get into other parts of the game, too.
Yeah.
Like I said, we've talked about how, we do industry because that's how we build our ships and get them where we need them to do. It's just easier than buying them and transporting them. So
Yep.
the use of
They're
the
much
ocean
smaller
that
when
kind of
you
stuff.
put them into mineral format, and then you compress the
Yeah.
minerals, and then it's compression all the way down to like make it so that it's one of the things I find really interesting about Eve is actually having to move shit to the front lines, to move stuff to where where you're going to be living, and not just living out of Jitta, which I always find is another like new player experience pitfall that I've seen, is that living out of Jitta is like living out of a place that is filled with a bunch of scammers and people trying to blow you up that have already done all the content that is available within like 5 jumps. It's like, well, I can't find any asteroid belts that have any asteroids in them, and they're all gone. And it's like, where are you? Like, I'm in Galente space over here. Every system I go to has like, asteroids for you to mine if you really want to. Like,
I feel attacked because I live in Cheetah.
but you have something different that you're doing for your. There's a reason why, because your content isn't doing high sec content, really, right? You're not mining and missioning, because they can't do missions in Jitta anymore either. I believe is it missions in Jitta? I might be wrong about that.
No, I think that there might still be some anomalies there.
Yeah, in general, they kind of like wiped that stuff out of the out of its trade hub system. But in any case, the big thing is that you're using that because you need all the ships. All the items being in one spot for you is extremely important for you. But when it comes to like getting content and stuff like that, and not getting killed for mission running, because I mean, if you're gonna run even a slightly blinged out Marauder. If you're doing it by Jitta, your likelihood of getting attacked goes way up. If you're doing it in the middle of nowhere, in the backwaters of some kind of place, but then you have to transport everything to get out there. You need more ammunition. You need to either build it yourself. How are you building it yourself? How are you getting all of... Like, that's just something that you really don't have... Besides, like, it's a little bit like there's a heavy amount of survival aspect in this game. Like, you don't need food, but you do need minerals and ammo, and that's kind of like the food for your ship.
We do have a question from the crowd here, Frozen. They want to know what your take is. Oh no, dude wants to know. What's your take on accessibility for new players in terms of skill points and skills?
Oh, that's a good one. That is something that comes up all the time. I am not in favor of letting new players have access to everything all at once. I am a Rome FC. I go out with Bomber's Bar. I go out on other NPSI fleets, and you can always tell when you take down a Oracle or Dread or whatnot, who paid with credit card versus who actually knows how to fly their ship. But I don't think that it would be the most horrible idea that if someone skills into, T2 frigates, just give them all of the T2 frigates. If you start flying one interceptor, it's not radically different than the other 4 interceptors, or I guess 5 with Pokvin.
Like they did that with the destroyer, right? Like before there was a destroyer for each one. Battlecruiser, I believe, was also another one that they skimmed down from having 4 different skills down to 1 skill.
Yeah, but now it's like, I skill into the Caldari, interceptor, but I now have to spend the time skilling into the 3 others as well to fly those. It's not going to make me fly the other 3 any better. It just blocks me from being able to fly the other 3 right now. So I think that would be infinitely a better idea, because it still puts, some wait time in, still kind of makes players learn the game and how to fly the ship before they can go up to the next bigger one. But yeah, it's just not giving them everything all at once either. And I do think also, because this also plays into it, they need to get rid of the attributes like they said that they would, in FanFest 2022?
also liked the idea of
That
getting
still
rid of the skill
hasn't
queue.
happened.
Like, why? It seems like such an easy thing to do.
Not the skill queue.
Like
Yeah,
what they were saying was that attributes is one thing too. Absolutely, they should get rid of that, which is like how fast you're learning. But once you get rid of that, then you can just give people SP. You don't have to specifically put SP into a specific skill. You need to just accumulate SP per hour. But the big thing is that you change up quite a bit of like what you have with the implants and stuff like that. There is quite a bit of change that you'd have to do to get rid of attributes, or to change at least what they do in the game. But
I think
they're kind of like the learning skills.
Yeah. And I suspect that that's why they haven't, headed that project on, because it's actually bigger than it is, and they're probably regretting promising it, because it comes up every year.
Yes, no, that was for them to announce that at FanFest. I was like, I went and like I've never heard anything since then. They've kind of just been like, you know what? And they didn't come back to it this year. I noticed, and I was like, oh.
And I guarantee it's brought up in every CSM since.
So, yes.
You've also got...
Go ahead.
I just want to point out, we talked about Mike Azariah. I just wanted to point out a few other, Dujek One Eye, Dutch Gunner, Drake Aideron, who's current CSM member, Alcoholic Satan, and Tom Harriet. So all people that have also thrown your support in for you. And again, you have our support as faction warfare and new player friendly, FCs and pilots that we need that voice to be heard on the CSM. The big blocks are important. Pochvin is important, and we get that. But this is a part of the game that we would like our voice heard also. So,
like I said on my thread and in other places, Null is going to be taken care of. And it's important that they have their candidates. But they're not going to have any less than half of the seats.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so important.
They're already taking... We know that they're going to get who they want on the council.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I think this year they had, 6? So, and I'm not throwing any shade towards the Null residents, because they are the biggest group of players that are out there. But, the rest of the CSM needs to be experts in other areas to give that input, insight, and perspective.
Absolutely. And yeah, I know that you'll be definitely at the top of our ballot list.
Balanced focus group if you're not getting...
Yeah, you got to make sure you're kind of getting as much as you can. Because if big groups can just get like 4, people each, it just flood the entire... thing, and like you said, they've got 6, which is half, which makes sense. That's that's definitely not flexing their power. that's probably reining in some people that wanted to push for more, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I just also want to say that I have dropped both MPSI Rocks is in there. The Fun Inc. is in chat. Your Discord is in chat for Eve Rookies, and your the forum for your candidacy is also in chat. If anybody wants more information, all those links are on there. And I just miscopied that one. So if you're looking for more information, it is all there, and you can feel free to reach out to... Oh, we just got raided. Cool.
Omega raid.
To reach out to Kshal Aideron. I'm sure she'd be happy to answer any of your questions as far as what she does in game and how you can fly with her if you're interested in taking doing some of those parts of Eve that maybe you haven't done before. If you haven't done excursions, again, they'll loan you the ship. Don't be afraid to go out there and do it.
Awesome. And with the raid that just came in, one thing I would think that is a good time to do here is if you've got any shout outs as well as any specific, anything else that you'd like to talk about with your platform. Also, if you want to, just for the newcomers, give a little bit of a breakdown of what you're doing running for CSM and what your platform is, as we just had a small little group of people come on in to say hi. Potential voters.
Excellent. Hello, everyone. Well,
Art Gravy. Hey, buddy.
hi, Art.
Speaking of content creators that need a little more support.
Yeah. So I'm Kshal Aideron. I'm running for CSM 20. This is my 4th time running. I was on CSM 18. I am a new player expert as well as community builder. My platform this year is basically undocking, working on the content and the reasons why people sit in their station and just spin ships instead of going out, trying something new, doing something, or, becoming content for other people. The one thing that we didn't really get into that I would love to get out there is I have become the CEO of Warm Life. Is a public community out in low-class space. I think we have lots of C1, C2s, C3s, and I think we even might have a C4. I can't remember. But we have something like 26 wormholes. It is absolutely astounding. There's free ports in there as long as you don't go and, kill people within the system or ref our stations. You are welcome to dock up and use it stage out down the chains. We absolutely love new players and teach them all about wormholes. I'm a brand new wormhole player. I have not done very much wormholing stuff before then. As a matter of fact, last night for a station defense fleet, I managed to go the wrong way down the chain, which everyone thought was absolutely hilarious.
It happens. Yeah.
Yep.
Wormholes are tricky.
100%. So, if I can go out and do it, so can you. Come out and join us.
Is this an alliance or a corporation? Are you able to join as a corporation?
Nope. This is just like MPSI. This is just like Eve Rookies. It is public. So all of our defense, we rely on the grace of Eve. The last time we had kind of a wormhole war, we had something like 120 people come out. We had Brave, we had Goons, we had Initiative, we had Low Suckers, MPSI Fleets, Bombers Bar was there to help come and defend our stations. So, Eve itself really loves this initiative. That's why I agreed to become CEO of Warm Life. I did not found it. I cannot take credit for that. But it just kind of falls into what I do with communities. So... come out and learn with me.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, wormholes are super awesome.
And you just did a full interview with Declarations of War that should be released in the next day or so here, as soon as Alec gets it edited. Yeah,
if you want to hear about the fall of our oldest station, then tune in to Declarations of War, the next episode that comes up.
I know Alec and those guys have a C4 that's a free port too. So
Yep. We're talking a little bit now that the bad air between Shadow Cartel and Warm Life has kind of been smoothed out.
Understand. It's good to hear.
Awesome. Well, do you have any shout-outs that you want to give before we wrap things on up here? Your mom and dad watching that,
I would really like to give a shout out to my community team. They are the hardest working people in my communities. They do the day-to-day. They keep the fleets coming. They put their heart and soul into the community. And when I go do crazy things like run for CSM, I know that I can rely on them to keep things going. And also, I gave them a shout out in Declarations of War, but I'll do it again here. Caroline Aya and her partner Dio for hosting the most awesome LAN party ever, even though I was so done with the balloons. So yeah, here's to the friends that we make along the way.
Awesome. Well,
here. I'll do
yeah,
that.
absolutely, absolutely. I don't have anything to drink, or I would drink too.
Which is weird. It's got to be
Yeah.
a weeknight.
It is a weeknight. That is what's going on here.
It's a weeknight.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on. This has been really awesome, and we've talked to you a lot over the years, and I really look forward to seeing you get on CSM this year, because I know it's going to happen. Like you're a huge asset to this game. I think your voice, and I'm glad to hear that you still have a voice, even though you're not in CSM right now. But it's, just having been on CSM, you've got your connections to a certain degree, and I really think that it'll be a major boon to see you on the CSM again this year.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well,
thank you so much for coming on. Really
thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you all for listening and watching, and have a great night.
Good night, everybody.
All right,